This is the final word daily, New Zealand, Australia daily. That flavour of daily. It is day 2. It is only day 2. It feels like at least day 3, but that is not the case. The game has been moving. Jeff Lemon and Adam Collins in Christchurch, New Zealand. The show is brought to you by CBUS Super.
Damn straight.
.com.au if you want. I don't know, you're on the internet, you figure it out. Adam, you are going to tell me about an entire day's Test cricket in 30 seconds.
All right, busy day. 4 for 124 when Australia resumed. Labuschagne was 45. They lost a couple of quick wickets, including Carey to a shocker. Caught at mid-wicket. We'll talk about that later, I am sure. Mitchell Marsh, a second duck in a row. Either side of lunch, they lost wickets as well. Some lusty blows from Cummins gets them up to 256. A lead of 94. Labuschagne taken before lunch, a blinder. Glenn Phillips. Second and third sessions, New Zealand batting. They make their way by the close to 40 runs in the black. 65 not out, Tom Latham. Nearly checked my notes, shouldn't be doing that in the summary. Kane Williamson bowled for 51. There with Ravindra at the end is Latham. The two left-handers getting them into the lead. We might have something going on here. Maybe, possibly. Maybe, possibly. It's going to take a lot.
They've got a nostril ahead on the line. Well, the line may be a fair way away, but you know how people like to say it goes down to the wire. That's a horse racing term. Nobody knows that. They just say the thing. They don't know what it means. It's from the photo finish. They used to string a wire across the track. There we go. Things you learn on the final word. Right. What happened? What happened is that this is the interesting part of the day for me. Sure. Okay. Australia get out. The lead's 96. There were about 51, 52 overs left in the day. I was sitting there thinking, it is entirely plausible that this is over in 2 days. If New Zealand bat like they did in the first innings, where they were all out in 40-odd overs, if that happens again, maybe Australia need to chase 20 or something. They get another extra half hour added because they'll be close to the finish. And that could have been it. It could have been none. There could have been nothing doing here on Sunday. For New Zealand supporters, poor maligned New Zealand cricket supporters who wanted to come down, sit on the grass bank, enjoy a beverage, get dazzled by the illusion of the sun that then goes away, and it becomes freezing. It is freezing here. I don't know. You're about to freeze standing next to me in your shirt sleeves.
I've underpacked.
You have underclubbed.
I've underclubbed
today. But
full stop.
We've underclubbed full stop. Okay.
I did not bring a jacket with me to New Zealand. What was I thinking?
That was a foolish move.
I've got a hoodie, and you can't really wear a hoodie to work.
No, well, you can. It depends what your job is. If your job is, I don't know, selling stuff in a park, then
hoodie it is.
Go for it. Look, the hoodie has become completely gentrified, commercialized. Everybody's allowed to wear the hoodie now. I reckon half of the professional sports people who go into commentary will wear a hoodie on leaving work. Okay. That's fine. I think there is nothing wrong with it. Let us not judge people for having a hood. Many good monks had hoods. Did we judge them? Maybe we did. They're a bit weird. They lived in a big stone house with a lot of men and nobody else for decades on end. None of that's important. What's important is this: New Zealand are kind of in it. They're kind of in it, and they could have been well out of it, and then all it took was a century partnership between Latham and Williamson, as they do. And now, are they in it? No, they're not yet, but they're not far off.
All right, so lead was 94, and they lose Will Young in the third over. I'm sitting up there in the press tent, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, what you're thinking as well. I'm like, 50 overs in the day were remaining. Well, it was actually more than that. They only got 50 in because over rates and all the rest of it. But they bowl them out in the same number of overs as they bowled them out yesterday, then it is over in 2 days. But instead, and look, this is the main point I want to make tonight, there was a sense of inevitability about today.
Yeah.
Said it on the podcast last night, said it on commentary this morning, and it felt that way at the start of play. The night watchman, Nathan Lyon, was dropped at first slip. A pretty easy catch for Daryl Mitchell, made it look harder than it was. They blow a review in the first over as well. Marnus Labuschagne.
Was he dropped off Southey?
He was dropped off Southey. Marnus Labuschagne passes.
Someone who needs wickets. You've got that team dynamic that you need your fielders to back up the bowler who hasn't been having an easy time of it.
All of that. Labuschagne brings up his half century in the next over. Lyon hits 3 boundaries in 2.5 overs to start the day. I'm like, well, if Australia are batting at the close, I would not be stunned. Notwithstanding a surface that's still giving ample to the seamers, although maybe not quite so much in the final session there. But broadly speaking, that isn't something that would have been outside the realms of possibility.
It's giving, as the younger generation say. Who knows what it's giving, but it's giving.
But then they get Lyon. They don't have that problem with the night watchman to quite the same extent. I think he was out for
still
20 or thereabouts. But still, it was the very fact that they got a wicket inside the first half an hour. Then they get Marsh early. Second duck in a row. Then Carey really opens the door. Third duck in New Zealand, good one. Opens the door with a shot that is going to cause problems for him now. As Barat said on Twitter, I think, it's a shot that was his friend for a long time. Now it's his foe. He was the best sweeper Australia had for a long stretch of time. In 2022, I think it's worth providing context around the Carey decline. He really did earn his stripe. He really did take his game to the next level with the bat through Pakistan. Well, from the point that he fell in the pool famously, the Movenpick. Pakistan, Sri Lanka, back home, and he capped the year with a tough century against South Africa at the MCG. Didn't do quite so well in India, really did poorly in India with the bat, well with the gloves though, which that's his main responsibility. We should never forget that, especially in that part of the world.
Avalanche of stumpings, because he didn't have a stumping at that point. He's got a bunch of them since.
And gets all his 12 stumpings came in the calendar year of 2023.
One for each month. We had the idea of the Carey stumpings calendar, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we did this at some stage.
Yeah.
And then we get to England where it's not causation, it's correlation after the moment at Lords, diminishing returns, a couple of half centuries in the Australian summer. But what it all boils down to is
vital performances in the World Test Championship final and in the first test at Edgbaston.
Definitely.
And I think people gloss over that, where they're like, okay, Australia don't retain the Ashes or win the World Test Championship without Alex Carey.
I couldn't agree more. But the problem he's got is that the currency for keepers is now the same as the currency for top six batters. You can't get away with just being a really good keeper who makes the occasional contribution. You're judged on the same scale, more or less, as a top six player, and thus the fact that he is woefully out of form.
You've probably got a 10-run buffer, right? Like you want your top six to be averaging in decent 40s, and you want your keeper to be averaging decent 30s.
Well,
like
this season across
30s.
7 test matches he's averaging 20.
Exactly.
Right? So this is the issue he's got. And it's the modes of dismissal, right? It's the soft dismissal first innings at Wellington. It's the silly dismissal second innings at Wellington. And it's the one today which just...
Soft and silly.
Soft and silly
Welcome
together.
to Soft and Silly. What sort of business do you think it would be?
Well, don't think about this too much.
I'm not thinking in the realm of Wet on Wellington, but I'm just thinking I don't know, like maybe like a jumping castle emporium or something like that, where you could go, like there's trampoline parks, but it's all those foam pits that you can do flips into. Welcome to Soft and Silly. They give you like a unicorn onesie when you come in with all your friends, and then you get to jump into the foam pits. Wouldn't that be nice?
I'm surprised if that's the first Wet on Wellington reference we've had on the podcast. Anyway, there's
www.
I'm just going to leave it there for the time being. The sweep was against Phillips' second ball. It just didn't line up. It wasn't like cricket smart, I didn't think, because it wasn't likely there was going to be a lot of turn.
No.
It didn't sort of feel give yourself a little bit. Yeah, it did. But I mean, it's not as though we were dealing with the circumstances we were last week at Wellington, where playing with the horizontal bat is as likely to get you out of trouble as a straight bat. This was a pitch that didn't give that. And plus, he hadn't given himself a chance to see. There'd barely been any spin bowler on it so far. So I think with Carey, it's like, it's how frazzled is he at the moment?
Yeah.
He's, as I think you might have said yesterday, he's in need of some time away from cricket. Now, how that plays out for him, it might be that it's the long goodbye and we're waiting 8 months before they pick Inglis anyway. It might be a moot point, who's to know. But yeah, this will be tough times for him.
Well,
I suppose they might get a chance to chase something in the fourth innings and he might get a cheeky 30 not out and all will feel okay again, but he'll not be sleeping easy tonight. Drop chance as well. How often do you see it? A drop chance when you're not making runs when you're a keeper, puts down Latham on 59 about 10 minutes before the close.
This is the thing, right? So and everybody who's quite fairly enough defending Carey's position and saying don't worry about it, he's very good at wicket keeping, and he is, but when you put down a catch like that, and it's not a simple one, it's in front of first slip, it's not going to carry to first slip, it's the right call to go for it, but he gets both gloves to it, it's close enough to him that it's not a desperate, absolute sort of, well, maybe it'll stick in the end of the webbing of the glove sort of catch. He spills it as he goes to ground, he's got it in his hands. And you do see that. You see that when a player's under the gun, when a keeper's under the gun, there's that sense of vulnerability, and that wasn't there in his keeping, and that is there when you see a catch. And maybe it's, of course, you could be putting way too much on one moment, but it feels important. It feels like it reflects how he's feeling and how he's going at the moment. That sweep shot, I mean, it wasn't the length for it. It pitches far enough short of him that it's got time to turn. He hasn't had a look at anything to see if it is going to turn, and Glenn Phillips can turn it. This isn't a spinner's pitch, but Phillips rips the ball so hard that got significant turn, and that was part of what drew the mistake. It hits near the toe of the bat and lobs, and I don't agree with this sort of the way that dismissals are called soft. People always say it's soft when the ball lobs. So basically, if you manage to mistime it so it dinks up in the air, that's a soft dismissal. If you absolutely leather it at someone and they catch it, that rarely gets defined the same way, right? There's a kind of judgment.
That's not how I do it. I think a soft dismissal is when I'm thinking more above the shoulder soft, not about the ball going softly to mid-wicket there. It just felt like it wasn't well thought out, thus soft.
Well, I think if you're getting caught at cover in mid-wicket, you're doing something very fundamentally wrong, right? Like that's the first thing you learn not to do when you learn to play cricket well, is don't hit them in the air and when you're scoring shots in front of the wicket, right? Anyone can edge one into a cordon, but if you're hitting them on the up to cover, if you're hitting them to mid-wicket, your timing is nowhere.
Yeah, it's a high risk profile, absolutely. I got a bit distracted there about my main point, which is that I really admire New Zealand not succumbing to that inevitability piece that describing before. Like when they get here today, it could be a really dirty day for them. They could lose in 2 days. They may not even fight back from a mini intervention from Pat Cummins where he hits 3 4s and a 6 in the space of 4 deliveries from the new man Sears, who isn't getting the chance to bowl at the number 11 Hazelwood. He's bowling at Cummins, who has the licence to swing and takes advantage of it, pushes the lead up into the 90s. You can see where even that plus Young going early, they're like,
Sachin Tendulkar's favourite song, The Licence to Swing.
and you end up where in a situation where things move quickly as they did yesterday, but instead they dug in, and especially Tom Latham. I don't know whether I'd have less visibility on the selection politics in New Zealand, but what I do know is that this season Latham was averaging 15.7 before this match. He's made 1 century in the last 3.5 years, I think it is. That was in 2021, possibly.
His last 50 was a year ago to this day. The match started a year ago to this day.
Right, so you put that all in a pot and stir it up. It might be that he was right towards the point where he could be squeezed out of the side, and he saves it for this week where he makes 38 yesterday.
Well, especially with Conway to come back.
With Conway to come back spot on. So, and then with Young, I know he gets out early today, but he's probably looked the more assured of the two so far in a short sample size because they've both been out quickly each time. But still, you know the point I'm trying to make. So to come out there today, that passage of play between Young getting out and T was outstanding opening batting. He only got to 12, but the way he left all 3 Australian quicks, he was giving them absolutely no opportunity to have him nick off.
Right.
And that is, in that situation, his job. In the very same way we described Ravinder's job before lunch yesterday, to not let them get a wicket and get up and about before going to the long break. So it was Latham before tea, and he succeeded in that mission. And now he gets to stumps. I saw him walk off on his home ground. He sort of acknowledged his family and his friends when he was walking off the ground today. That's a nice moment for him. He's got to keep going tomorrow to give New Zealand a chance. But box checked, second half of the day, in essence, won by New Zealand.
It'd be funny if he didn't. It'd be funny if he just walked off and ignored his family, or if he just sticking his finger up at his dad. I hate you. Why didn't you let me borrow the car?
He was there, Rod Latham. Rod Latham was sitting beneath us here.
Rod Latham Arena.
92 World Cup gun. At least that's how I remember it. Anyway.
Well, and then this, the vital partnership, 105 between Williamson and Latham. Williamson needed it as well. Needed a score against Australia. He was patient. Again, he took his time, and then there was the odd moment where he'd play a shot through the off drive, a couple of lovely cover drives, off drives, which is, so when Williamson's up and running, they went past, as a pair, they went past 3,000 runs in harness, Latham and Williamson. So they're already New Zealand's second most prolific Test partnership after Ross Taylor and Kane Williamson.
In a harness.
In harness.
Sort of imagine him in the sex swing.
Not in a harness.
No, okay.
No, Tom Latham in a harness that is a different video. It's a different video with
different part of the internet.
It's not on this website. YouTube don't allow it. I don't think you can do audio podcast versions of this sort of thing. I don't think they'd be very interesting anyway. I'm sure there's a market for it. People who'd rather listen, maybe like the blindfold types. You take the tie off, put it around your eyes, and just eyes wide shut, as it were. But nonetheless, that's a different part of the internet. But in harness, it's like with 2 horses pulling a carriage. You know what it means.
In union.
Yeah, in union.
He also passed 10,000 runs in all forms for New Zealand today, Tom Latham. He overtook John Wright yesterday for the 6th most productive, if you like, cricketer for New Zealand. And
maybe he overtook John Wright on the way to the ground too, because they were both here, just driving past him, going, "Speed up, dickhead!"
We did have John Wright in the combox today, so he is here. Another Christchurch man, as is Latham, who this is his home ground. He's the only guy to have 1,000 Test runs on this ground. If it's going to be anyone, it's going to be him. And the fact that it was with Williamson was significant. I mean, I know he's out for 51 because it's always Cummins.
Bad bit of cricket that though.
Always
from Williamson. Cummins comes back on. Was it his first ball or his second ball? He hits that Cummins sort of line. He gets a little bit of seam movement in. What is Williamson doing playing a lusty drive on the up against Pat Cummins' second ball of a new spell? What's he doing that? You don't need to do that. That was a high degree of difficulty shot. And instead of smacking it through the covers for 4, he gets a little inside edge back onto middle and off stump, and he's gone for 51 instead of going on to 100 and leading them to something substantial.
Just a hint of movement too. I saw both Cummins and Stark hiding the ball as they were coming in towards the end. A little bit of reverse from Stark in that final spell they got through before the close of play. So that's all part of it. Just want to back over Matt Henry. Well, not back over him. Not back over him.
Tom Latham's doing that while he's driving past John Wright. Get out of the way. I'm trying to hit Matt Henry.
Matt Henry was playing with his young daughter out on the ground before, so I don't want to do anything horrible to him at all, full stop. He seems like a very nice man. Preemptive Hall of Fame. How good is it that he's wearing suede Birkenstocks and New Zealand socks on the side of the boundary with us before. I'm like, that is the perfect New Zealand. It's effectively socks and sandals, right?
Yeah.
But suede Birkenstocks.
Jandals, I believe.
Yeah, quite. Socks and jandals. But the New Zealand, emblem.
Were they blue suede Birkenstocks?
No, sadly they were more your sort of bone, ivory, beige kinds. But still, that was good from him. 7 for 67, the second best figures ever for New Zealand against Australia, only behind Paddles, 9 for 52 at the Jabba back in 1985. He had an average of 110 against Australia before this series. 5 for last week, 7 for here. He's second 7 for here on his home ground to go with runs with the bat yesterday and trying his best to keep New Zealand in it, taking wickets just when they needed him. That really good review, that leg before review for Marsh. They blew one earlier and they get it right the second time. They would have had their hearts in their mouths. Their final review on the line. He gets that right. That's his fifer. Finishes the job later.
But they had to. They had to go for that one. But it was their last review. They would have been nervous. But also, it was plum. How did that not get given out? I don't really understand. Like Marsh shuffles a bit.
It was the shuffle, I think.
So okay. So he's had Lyon picked up at slip, caught by Mitchell. Hang in there. We're 5 more minutes.
I'm shuffling now.
Okay. He gets Marsh. What looked plum to me. Comes in and like it's hitting the top of leg stump, but it's not like the outside of leg stump. It's smashing into the stumps. It's given not out somehow. Then you've got Labuschagne caught in the gully off Southey. I assume you'll come to that in Hall of Fame.
I wasn't going to do that in Hall of Fame. Let's do it now in the main body.
The Phillips,
as it were.
I think one of the things I enjoyed was everyone saying that is the catch of the season from Glenn Phillips, and it's like no, he took 2 of those against South Africa that were just as good.
Does it every week?
This is what Phillips does.
Does it every week? It is an all-timer. By any normal standards. And there's a setup as well.
It's Blundell coming up to the stump.
Yeah, Southey bringing or Blundell deciding either way to come up to the stumps over before lunch. They set the deep point back, deep square leg back. They know that Labuschagne's got to try and play square of the wicket because he's suddenly not able to come out of his crease. He'll be trying to look to go back, and he kind of just gets enough on it to get Phillips in the frame, and that's all you need with him. He's
been batting so far out of his crease that he got warned by the umpires for coming too far down the wicket when he was setting off for a run. Like he was miles out, and so they did get in his head in that way, made him change what he was doing, steers it away.
Did you see the thumbs up with Murray Erasmus after that, by the way? So the next ball after he gets his little conversation, and there was some back and forth. I think Marnus just wanted to know what was going on. He still shuffled about 2 balls later, and he looked around a square leg and gave Murray the thumbs up just to make sure it was fine. So I enjoyed that interplay between batter and umpire.
So that's just before the break, and then Cummins and Stark smash a few, make 20-something each. And
Stark batted well.
Yeah, Stark batted.
Just when Australia needed a little stand to bridge them through after losing Marsh and Carey. In walks Stark, and he's had a good couple of years with the bat.
We drove through the offside nicely, didn't sort of try to pump everything over leg side, although he got out doing that, just a little scratch of the outside of the bat as he was looking to go over long on. The ball moving away, and then that's Henry again, and then Henry with Cummins hitting the back heel after Cummins has moved across to the offside. The back heel in front of middle and off, and that was given not out too. How the hell was that given not out? Hit him on the foot in front of the stumps. Anyway, they reviewed that one smartly enough. So Australia are all out for 256. That was a lead of 96, and then New Zealand have wiped off the lead, and I think we've gone through most of it. We might as well move to the Hall of Fame.
Why don't we do that? For the final word is brought to you by cbussuper.com.au. That's their website. That's their website, but there's an easier way of doing it. If you want to get your super sorted out, let us know. You don't have to tell us your personal financial situation. No. Say, hey, you guys talk to CBUS all the time.
Send us your bank account number.
We are Nigerian email scammers.
What are the last 4 digits on your credit card?
You've got mine. I looked at my I looked at something credit card related with me and you the other day. I was searching for my own credit card number, and our WhatsApp history includes a line where I've said to you, my security number is XYZ player's cap number for Australia. So I didn't want to give you the security card, number in the body of the WhatsApp
form.
So I said, you better find the cap number so you can. That's how Jeff and I communicate. I couldn't believe that I had done that, but. A scammer's going to go, I'm just going to look up the Wikipedia page for.
Now they're just going to hack your WhatsApp.
They don't need to hack. Don't hack my WhatsApp for fuck's sake.
You are putting this on the internet.
You can dig into my Visa card if you want. If that's your want, you can do that. I don't care that much. cbussuper.com.au. If you've heard about their returns, 8.89% on average, 40 years in the game.
Don't take financial advice from this man.
Well,
except in this instance.
Where I'm saying
I'm backing this up.
Past performance, no reliable indicator of future performance. So I realise now that, they'd have to work out who the cricketer is. A cricketer that you and I know and love.
They don't have the database.
Yes, there's another hint for you there. This is our most final word moment of the day. Jeff, go first.
Yeah, I mean, well, the Phillips catch could be in there just for being the Phillips catch or for the fact that people were talking it up, even though he keeps doing it all the time. I liked Ben Sears crawling around on all fours, like me looking for my glasses under the bed when the ball got hit back past him and he tried to field it and he was nowhere near it and he's just crawling after the ball. It was a familiar sort of pose, fumbling in the dark.
Who was that TV presenter from Channel 7 that was crawling around on his hands and knees at the front of a revolver?
Oh.
Whoever it was. Channel 7 guy, I think, from memory.
Oh,
Anyway.
There's David Hasselhoff trying to eat the burger off the floor as well. It might be that one. He's got a hamburger on a plate and he's trying to eat it with his face.
Speaking of revolver, how about when Kane Williamson reached 50 and the Cricket Ground DJ played a 2-minute cut from Darude Sandstorm. Not a 30-second bit, not a kind of, couple of us. He played like half the... We had 2 drops. It was
and
really
everyone was
on.
clapping along with the beat like it was wholesome family entertainment. Do you think Darude knows? And meanwhile, as I mentioned in the broadcast, Florence and the Machine getting such a run. Wellington and here, they've played, I reckon, half a dozen Florence tracks per day at the cricket. And there's a tenuous Florence and the Machine cricket connection via Felix White and the Maccabees.
There is. Multiple times he's been on our show.
Yeah, so I don't know if the ground DJ knows that, but I've enjoyed all the Florence.
I've been taking notes for the DJ throughout, really. I've got here, Whitetown, Your Woman, I added to my list. He's doing good. I know that there's conjecture as to whether there should be a cricket ground DJ at a test match. I'd probably fall on the side of no. But if the DJ is getting it right more than not, notwithstanding the Darude incongruity given it's Williamson.
I'm all for it.
I reckon Williamson wouldn't have heard that song before.
No, he would have though, because I remember talking about this on the show before, and Craig McMillan was on our broadcast talking about the point where they had to select a song to walk out to in the early 2000s in one days, and how various of the players in the team would get stitched up because other players would put in a replacement song for them that they didn't, you'd come out to Walking on Sunshine or something when you'd gone for a Pantera number or whatever it may be. But Darude Sandstorm must have been the default if you didn't put one in, because I remember New Zealand playing at the MCG in around 2002.
Bevan game.
Probably 5.
It'd be the Bevan game, won't it?
Yeah, but there were maybe only a couple of games over that summer. Multiple players, like maybe 4 or 5 of the 11 got Sandstorm when they came out. So it has a strong link with New Zealand cricket. It's part of the heritage. It's more than 20 years. Sandstorm came out in 1999?
A fair while ago now.
It is a heritage listed track by now. You could get club plates for it if it were a car.
Few bits and pieces external to the game itself.
Wait,
you're not done yet?
Hall of Fame? We've got one more thing.
Oh, you got one more thing, then I'll come back to you.
Okay. So I like the fact that Mitchell Marsh was protected by the night watchman, and then immediately, once the night watchman got out, he got out from the duck. That was funny. Third duck here, so he made 40 in Wellington, he made 18 here in 2016, so he's made 58 runs from 3 innings with 3 ducks in New Zealand. In this series, Mitchell Starc, Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon have made more runs than Steve Smith, Mitchell Marsh and Alex Carey. Nathan Lyon's made more runs than Travis Head as well, and Josh Hazelwood has a better average than any of the aforementioned players in the series. Batting, not bowling. Batting.
And bowling as well.
Yeah, got him covered.
That all sounds about right. Other Hall of Fame bits from me. Well, first of all, I'm looking forward to watching the other podcast from Durham Shala. Jimmy Anderson, for those of you marking your bingo cards. Kuldeep Yadav was his 700th test wicket, caught behind.
That's what he would have wanted.
With Kuldeep on 30 and India on 1 million at the time. But it goes with Azhar Ali was 600. Craig Brathwaite was 500. Martin Gupta was 400. I don't know after that, but I remember those 3 as milestones as well.
Martin Gupta was 400 years old when he was playing for New Zealand.
And Vale Duncan Fernley, we got the news through overnight. I don't want to sound buoyant about that, but a celebration of his life will play out, I'm sure. Died at age 83, the Worcester legend, and I mean not legendary numbers, but legend of that club, did so much to... I suppose the aesthetics of cricket, that bat, those Duncan Fernleys through the 70s and 80s and 90s, they were the sign of class. All the top flight players who chose to use them. And there is a Duncan Fernley bat on display here.
In the nets.
There's one out here as well in the Hadley Pavilion. Ken Wadsworth, the late Ken Wadsworth, who tragically passed away so very young, hit the winning runs at Christchurch in 1974 using a Duncan Fernley, and that's in there behind a glass case, along with the ball that he struck on that famous day 50 years ago. So Duncan Fernley died at the age of 83 today, but left a massive imprint on the game in more ways than one.
You can't spell DLF maximum without DF. Duncan Fernley. Respect.
That's us done, I think. As I said before, we've got Daniel and Cam doing the Durham Charlotte Daily. Looks like England are careering towards a 3-day defeat. Who knows, they may not. We'll be back tomorrow for the third day ourselves at Christchurch for cbussuper.com.au. If you really like what we do, patreon.com/thefinalword. And if you're just hearing this now and you're in Christchurch, we'll be at the Pegasus. Well, I'll be there soon. You'll be there after the podcast is up.
Probably you'll be hearing this at the time that I'm walking through the door. All right, that's it. See you on day 3.
No.